Hello and welcome to the Lady Charmaine Live show. We have a very exciting show for you today. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about one of those taboo topics that's going on in the church. We're going to talk about a recent hot topic that took place in our church ministry. It's with the title of modesty. Recently, one of our well-known gospel artists received a lot of criticism over a dress that she wore on her album cover. So I have a question for you. What is modesty? Is modesty only for women? Or are men required also to dress modest? And we're going to talk about, has modesty been redefined in the church in 2014? We're going to talk about all that and more on Lady Charmaine Live, coming up right now. Versus new versus just plain old common sense. And I've invited a few of my friends to talk about this very topic of modesty with me today. I want you to help me welcome to my right, to your left, Miss Samil Thorner, pastry chef. Miss Betty Calloway. She is the founder of Hugs Ministry. And then we also have my friend from high school, y'all, Sean Brennan. And we also have Sharon Moody. Help me welcome my friends to the show. Okay, now ladies, today on the show we're going to be talking about, I think we call it a dreaded word. It's called modesty in the church. Now, for those who may not understand what modesty is, I want to read you the definition of modesty. Okay, modesty, the quality of not being too proud or confident about yourself or your abilities. The quality of behaving and especially dressing in ways that do not attract sexual attention. So when we talk about modesty in the church, I've heard young women say, I think it's cool to look nice and dress sexy. I think a little sexiness is okay. After hearing that definition, I want to talk to you ladies about modesty. So now for you, Samil, is modesty, is that just an old-fashioned notion in 2014?
No, I don't think it's an old-fashioned notion.
Why not?
Because I feel like people need to dress according to their body size, I don't want to say body style, but body size, and wear things that are appropriate for their body shapes and everything like that. It's not wrong to want to accent certain parts of, your body, your breasts or your hips or something like that, but it can be taken too far. So I don't think it's old fashioned. I think that it's something that needs to be taught for young women. Like I have a daughter, so I tell my daughter, you shouldn't wear that outside to church or school or whatever, because it's probably inappropriate. If I'm saying that you shouldn't wear it, I'm not old, so.
Now, Miss Betty, I want to ask you the same question. Is it an old-fashioned notion?
Am I old?
No.
Well, no, I don't think so at all. Okay. I don't think that, I agree with her in the sense that you do have to now dress according to your body size. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think women need to be a little sexy, but you can, pass that boundary. I think young ladies nowadays are passing that boundary. They're stepping over that boundary of what decency and an order is. You know what I mean?
Now, you just mentioned sexy. Mm-hmm. Now, it says here, ways that do not attract sexual attention. So the root word of sexy is sex.
It is.
So if I'm going to church and I'm dressed sexy, would that make the other men in the church look at me in a sexual manner?
Well, see, now, I think that you can be sexy on the inside.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Now, what is that? What's sexy on the inside?
I think I'm sexy.
What's that?
I have a certain way about myself. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But, and regardless of, what a person wears, a woman wears, should I say, she has a certain air about herself that you don't have to have everything out and show everything. Okay. You can have a certain look and a certain attraction about yourself. And it can be sexy. Sexy is nothing wrong with sexy.
Now, is confidence considered sexy as well?
Absolutely.
Very good.
Absolutely.
So, Sean, what do you have to say about that?
I totally agree with her. I think that it is very important to be appropriate, especially if, we were talking about denominations, especially, with certain denominations. It's some of the trendier styles are not considered appropriate, but I feel like it goes according to your age and according to how you carry yourself, and also according to what your own personal beliefs and feelings are about yourself and about your size. And because there are some women who are like a size 2 that are not confident in what they're wearing, and then there are women who are a size 20 or 24 or whatever, and they have all the confidence in the world, and they rock what they wear,
right.
And that's just what they do, and it just depends on your own comfortability with what you're wearing.
Now, Sharon, you have dropped several dress sizes, so you could speak to this on both spectrums, and your dress style has changed as well.
Yes.
So, can you answer the same question? Is it just an old-fashioned notion?
You know what? I hate to be the oddball, but I really think that it's old-fashioned. And the only reason why I say that is because I don't think that it should be, but I think it is. And I think it's because we allow anything and everything in the church. And nowadays, you can almost see anything. I mean, from chest cleavage to all the legs to. So it shouldn't be old-fashioned, but I think a lot of people are considering it old-fashioned, or they would dress more modestly. Even with me losing my dress sizes, and I have lost quite a few, I think that I still have a way about me where I could be modest and not go overboard, but still be confident in the way that I dress.
Right. Now, Samir, earlier you brought up a point when you said showing your body shape. Now, there was a huge controversy over one of our well-known gospel artists. We know her as Erica Campbell from Mary Mary. She had on a nice white dress on her album cover. It was all the way up to her neck, all the way down to her wrists, and it was even past her knees. But people had an issue because the dress was showing her shape, all her hips and everything else. Now, I liked the dress. I thought the dress was a nice dress. I just admired her shape. I wasn't like, she shouldn't be wearing that dress, but a lot of people were. How did you feel? Did you ever see the cover?
I did.
Okay, give me your opinion, because I thought it was nice, and she was very shapely. Now, do you think it should have been a little bigger and not exact? Because God gave her them hips.
No, I think that if I was Erica Campbell's size, I would have had on that dress. However, I would have had it on a date with my husband or something like that. So in the conversation that we had, it was, she shouldn't wear it because she's a gospel artist. It was her album cover or whatever cover it was. Like you said, it was all covered up. The dress was her size. We were talking and I said, can we say fitted and not tight? Because you can have on a fitted dress, but it's not too tight. Right. If you have the wrong size on, it's too tight. Right. If you can see a dip, it's too tight. If you can see back rolls, it's too tight.
Okay. Well, moving on. Okay. From my seasoned sister, what did you think about? Because, like I said, again, I love the dress. If I had that shape, I would have rocked it. You know what I mean? I thought it was very tasteful, and it covered up everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? And she can't help. She have that little waist.
She can't help it.
In those hips. I mean, because I'm trying to get that shape myself too. I'm making a comeback. I'm dropping 65 pounds.
Amen.
I'm going 3 babies back, y'all.
That's right.
And I'm getting it all snatched. You hear me? So give me your opinion.
Oh, I loved it. I loved her dress. I thought it was very. It was very form-fitting. It held on to her. It hugged her shape, and she has a shape. And I think that might have been part of the problem, don't you? Because a lot of women are looking at it and, don't have that. And we tend to, as women, I think, judge immediately when we see something that we're not, and especially if we don't have the confidence that we're supposed to have.
Do you think it's more of those moo-moo wearing mothers that got upset with that dress?
It was a few of them. I don't want to get on them, but yeah.
Okay. Now, do you think is modesty a double standard in the church?
I think it is. I think it definitely is, because I'm like I have a 15-year-old son, and it's perfectly okay for him to wear jeans to church and tennis shoes, and if he might have on a polo shirt, he might have on a t-shirt. But now, when my daughter was 15, if she had worn that to church, everybody would come to me and be like, "Why is your daughter in jeans? And why she don't have on a dress? Why she don't have on a skirt?" So it's definitely a double standard. And I'm not the type of parent, nor is nor are my kids the type of kids who necessarily we don't get dressed up to go to church all the time. We have that kind of a church where it's more about what you're getting from it than what you are looking and how you look in it. But my daughter, she wears jeans to church. I can't necessarily bring myself to do it, only because I feel like my grandmother would be looking like, what are you doing with jeans on? But I'm comfortable, and I'm comfortable with what I wear to church, and as long as I'm comfortable, I'm able to get the message that I'm there to get, and not fashion critique about what I'm wearing or about what my kids are wearing. So, but I do think it is definitely a double standard.
Now, I grew up when they used to say, God don't want your clothes, he wants your soul.
Right, absolutely.
And a lot of times we focused on clothes instead of the soul. And I never forget, I knew a young lady, because, when you say you growing up in the Holiness Church, sanctified church, I knew it was a sanctified church, the Holiness Church. I know we are the church, and the Bible says, be holy for I am holy. And now, is holiness, is it a way of life, or is it a way of dress code?
It should be a way of life.
It's a way of life.
It should be a way of life.
It's a way of life.
Because, a lot of times, you need to dress holy going to church. And I knew a young lady, she had the whole look going. I'm telling you, from head to toe. But the problem was,
She was mean as hell.
she got pregnant 3 times with that long dress on.
Exactly.
You got that long dress on. See, my thing is, can you keep the dress down?
Right. Well, no matter how long it is, can you keep it down?
You see, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So you go to Holiness Church, and you see, the thing is, you look right. But are you right?
Exactly.
Because a lot of times in church we focus on the look instead of you being right.
Exactly.
As long as you come in here, baby, looking right and got on the right clothes, as long as you got on your uniform, you good. And really,
people like she said.
Right. And we got our Sunday uniforms. Like they say, Sunday best, but it's really a uniform. You don't wear that uniform all week until it's time for you to go to church. Let me go and throw on my uniform now because I'm on my way to church. But you don't have to live right. You ain't got to be right because ain't nobody following you home. And so that's just one of my questions when you're dealing with that. Now, do certain situations and places warrant different rules of modesty, such as going out on a date with your husband, going to work?
Well, I feel like if I'm a Christian woman, I'm a Christian woman regardless whether I'm at church, or whether I'm on a date, whether I'm at a jazz club, whether I'm at a picnic, wherever I am, I'm gonna try to conduct myself how I dress, how I speak, how I walk, how I talk, everything. It's going to be reflected wherever I am, not just at church.
All right. Okay, Sharon?
You know what? Actually, I think it should be the same no matter where you go. I think the actual style of clothing is going to be different. If I go to work, I may wear a professional suit. If I go out to dinner, I may wear a nice dress. If I go to church, I might wear just some casual clothes or something. But I think the modesty in itself should stay the same. You're either modest or you're not. You either you show the cleavage or you don't. I mean, you're more concerned about drawing attention to yourself or you're not. You're more conscious of it or you're not. So you're going to be conscious of it whether you're at work, at church, at home, or whatever. But you're who you are.
Exactly.
So like you said, I kind of appreciated what she said. She goes, I feel like I'm a sexy person. I mean, it's how you carry yourself.
Right.
Either you carry yourself in a more modest way,
Right.
and it's in you, or you're more outgoing, where you don't pay much attention to it. You don't focus on if you got a little cleavage showing. I think it's a part of your personality.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, ladies. Last year, a well-known actress received a lot of flack for a dress that she wore. Now, she's married to a minister, but a lot of people felt because the dress was so low, she shouldn't have worn that dress because she was married to a minister. Now, I want to know, what is your opinion? Because now, what if she considered, like we were talking about earlier, being modest, and can you do it on a date? Now, she was out with her husband on a red carpet. Is that okay?
I thought the dress was too low. I thought I could see too much of her cleavage. And it's distracting, to be honest with you. And she's a first lady. I thought that
She's
that
not
was
a first
not...
lady. Her husband's a minister.
Well, so that means there's a certain way she needs to present herself also.
But he liked it.
Right, but it was in public, so I just thought it was just a little much.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
And and I'm not a person that's very old-fashioned as far as that goes. If she wants to look good for her husband, I think that's wonderful. But I just thought that was showing a little bit too much.
Now, what if he said, well, honey, I want you to wear that dress because I want everybody to admire my wife because, girl, you are fine.
Yeah.
And I want you to wear this dress. And he was proud to walk with her on that red carpet.
Right, and that's exactly what she should do. But the question was what I thought about it. I thought it was a little too low.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
That was the question. What was your fault? Okay. Now, Samir, what did you think of the dress?
I actually, if I can recall, I thought it was too low also, but it was too low for my taste. Not because she's married to a minister. I'm not the so-and-so actress have a scoop neck all the way down to her bottom cheek. That's never been me. I've seen a lot of beautiful gowns that are fitted. Boat neck or V-neck is my favorite cut, but not to, I mean, even if I lose 50 pounds, I wouldn't wear nothing down to my belly button. I just wouldn't do it. Save the knot, I wouldn't do it.
It was a real plunging neckline.
That's just me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in church, you may have some new ladies that come in. They're going to church for the first time and second time, third time. They may not know how to dress. So now they've been in church for a while now. Who should educate these ladies if they have not changed their mini skirt wearing ways, that they would say, wearing tight clothes? Who should be the individual, or if there's several individuals, to educate them on proper dress or modesty in the church?
Is that question for?
Go ahead, Sharon.
Okay.
I was going to say, let's
You know what?
share.
Actually, I think that it should be like the church mother, maybe the missionaries, but not anybody and everybody should go and try to tell another member what to do, because everybody in the church ain't saved.
Right.
And your motive may not be right.
Exactly.
And you may want to go tear her down, and you might have your own agenda for why you're going to let her know, just because maybe you don't like her or something. But everybody should just not go and tell people what they should and should not do and what they should wear in the church. Maybe the church mother, some of the missionaries, but just not everybody. I mean, you may feel you want to, but if you have an issue, may go talk to the church mother and say, Mother, have you noticed that so-and-so dress ain't came down? It's been a whole year now, and she's still dressing like a prostitute. I mean, so at some point you want to say something, but I don't think that it should just come from anybody, no.
Now, you just said something, though. I'm going to go right back to you. You just said something. Now, we have a lot of new churches today. They don't have a lot of church mothers. They don't have a lot of missionaries. Some churches don't even have church mothers, period.
That's true.
So how do we, because you said not everybody should go. So how do we educate a young lady in the church? Or should we just, how people say, let God do it. Not even this example. Now, if the word is going across dealing with dress. See, when I got saved in the age of mini skirts up to here.
Right.
I had on my 4-inch heels, and I thought I was rocking going to church. I was that cute, sexy girl.
That's right.
Going to church, right? And so I would never forget my pastor at the time, Pastor Bob Jackson at Axel Gospel, and he was saying, before you leave, you should stop at the mirror and say, Holy Ghost, how do I look? Is it too short? Is it too tight? Or is it just right? And I didn't want to do that. Because I knew it was too short, too tight, and it wasn't right. So I didn't want to do that. Because you don't want to hear the answer, right?
Right.
So you just bypass the mirror.
Right.
You don't be like, mirror on the wall. I don't know what you got to say.
Right.
And so I would never forget, I felt this conviction in my heart that what I had on was just plain old too short. And it was. So here I am. I said, I'm going to wear me a leather trench coat and cover it up. I wasn't changing nothing. I just put on a leather trench coat and went to church. And all of us that believe in the Pentecostal movement, such as myself, the presence of the Lord hit me real good. And that leather coat came off. And I got to shouting and cutting a few steps.
Oh, my goodness.
With that little bitty mini skirt on. The miniskirt was so tight it rolled up a little bit higher. So it looked like I was wearing shorts, hot pants, Daisy Dukes. When the Holy Ghost finished with me. Therefore, when I got home, I had such a conviction that I did not wear that suit anymore. I gave that suit. I should have threw it away, but I gave it away. Heart still didn't want to let it go. So I went ahead and gave that suit away. But the Holy Ghost can convict you. For those who don't know what the Holy Ghost is, it is the very spirit and presence of God that can speak to you. More on that. We're going to do a show on that when we come back. But anyway, it is the presence of God. But so I knew that I was convicted, but because of what came across in my church in the pulpit, I'll never forget Sister Charmaine. She had taught in our women's meeting, and I thought it was great. She said, ladies, she was talking to us about the way we dress. And this was the first time that I really looked at men as my brothers. And she said, you don't want to offend your brother. She said, because a lot of men come to church coming out of the world, and their mindset has not really changed because men are visual. And they look at ladies, they look at the women. So if you're wearing your tight jeans and you know you got that wonderful derriere J-Lo going on, or that Kim Kardashian and those hips, they're looking at that. You know what I mean? Because they're very visual. So she said, so you don't want to cause your brother to fall. And that changed my entire mindset. I was like, so I didn't look at how I dressed anymore. I looked at, I don't want to cause my brother to fall. Now you have those women, he shouldn't be looking anyway. He should be looking into Jesus, the author and finisher of his faith. You know what I mean? But you know, we do need to help. That's why you got to remind men in the church, watch what you say to women, because we're very audible. We're verbal. You know, you can be like, how you doing, sister? You can be like, how you doing, sister? You know what I mean? So it's just all in how you say it. You can be like, Lord Jesus, Billy D. Mess you all up. You in church trying to focus and be talking about, how you doing, sister? Just playing in your mind. How great thou art. You missing the whole song. You know, so you got to be careful. You know what I mean? So, you know, we do need to ask the Lord, because he did say, acknowledge him in all of your ways and he'll direct your path. The thing is, you got to be willing to want to acknowledge him. Because see, I didn't want to. I didn't want to acknowledge the mirror on the wall. I was cute. I had that little hourglass shape, y'all. My little figure 8 turned to a figure O. But I'm making it back. I'm making it come back. Come all the way back. Well, anyway, back to these questions. Now, I have a question for y'all. Now, does modesty change with age? Ooh, I got a wide range of age groups. Some meal. We're going to go all the way around.
The definition doesn't change, but like we've all said before, there are certain things you need to change. I don't want to say change your style, you know, because I will wear what Miss Betty have on. So I don't, and she's older than me. She ain't old and I ain't old. You know, but I think that I think that you should wear things that are appropriate for where you are in your that particular stage in life. My grandmother, when she passed away, she was 86, but I have a suit in my closet that she wore, and she's been dead 7 years. It's timeless. If I put it on, nobody would know that it's over 10 years old. And she wore it when she was 85 or 86 years old. So it really depends on what it is. Now, of course, it didn't come from the little $3, $5, $7, $10 store. You know, that's why it lasts so long, and that's why it is timeless and it's not trendy. And there's nothing wrong with trendy clothes, but you have to dress for or be modest according to your stage in life, you know.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Miss Betty?
I agree with that. I agree that because when I was younger, what looked good on me then just will not look good on me now. I've seen, like my daughters, for instance, they wear certain style clothes and they look really wonderful in it. But if I put that same thing on, first place, we won't talk about the weight part of it. We won't discuss that part of it. But the age part, it's just not appropriate for my age. So yeah, I think some things are age appropriate and they look really good on someone else, but they just don't. And you just have to know what looks good on you and be okay with it. And I think that's a part of the problem. Women are not okay with, you know, I'm this size or I'm this age, and so I want to, you know, portray myself as being younger than I am. or being, smaller than I am, so I'm wearing short black, and it just doesn't look good.
That's good.
And actually you make yourself look older, or, whatever you're trying to keep yourself from being is what you're actually looking like.
See, my mom should have heard that when I was 11 years old. My mother lost all this weight, was in my closet trying to put on my clothes. I was 11 and she was 33. There's something wrong with that picture.
Something wrong with that.
Same question for you.
I actually agree. I think as women mature, as they get older, what might have been modest to them when they were younger, or maybe when they first got saved, if they're saved or anything, is definitely not going to be the same as they get older. I'm close to my mid-40s, and I still don't own a suit, just because I feel like for me that's not where I am. Not saying that in 10 years I might get one, but for me, it's more important for me to be comfortable in church than to try to look a certain way because my husband was a deacon, or because I was married to a pastor, or whatever it is. It's more important for me to not look a certain type, but to just be comfortable in what I am, so that I could receive the word that I came to church for in the first place. So, but I do think definitely that as you grow older, your views on modesty and what are acceptable, they absolutely change.
That's true. I believe in that because, like I said, for a lot of churches, I'm going to hell. Look at my arms; they all out. And
Exactly. See, you know what I'm saying?
But my view on modesty did not change because it's hot up in here. So when we come back, we're going to be going to the audience and have them weigh in on this real sensitive topic of modesty. Is modesty sexy? Is it okay to be sexy in the church? We're going to talk about it when we come back. Lady Charmaine Live is sponsored in part by Savali Hair. For more information, go online to savalihair.com.
Looking for a station that plays uplifting music with an inspirational message? Praise 98 FM Jams is your station. Log on to praise98fm.com from anywhere in the world and get your praise on with artists like Kirk Franklin,
Even though I've been it for a while,
Still, Dawkins and Dawkins,
get down,
and Mary Mary. It's music the whole family can enjoy. Listen to Lady Charmaine Live weekdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for great interviews, contest giveaways, and entertainment news. Listen to Praise 98 FM Jams at work, at home, or on the go. Download the free TuneIn Radio app on your smartphone and search Praise 98 FM and start jamming today. We want you to like us on Facebook at Praise 98 FM Jams and join the Praise 98 FM Jams family. Log on right now at www.praise98fm.com. Your worldwide radio alternative. Internet radio never sounded so good.
Hey, do you want to be a part of our live studio audience? For free tickets, go online to LadyCharmaineLiveShow.eventbrite.com and join the fun today. Give our audience a chance to weigh in on this very sensitive topic of modesty in the church. You have a question?
So my first question is for all the panelists. How would you define modesty when it comes to your own appearance?
Okay, well, I'll go first. Okay. For myself, I just think decent. That's the first word that comes to my mind because as far as I can remember, as long as I can remember, I've never been one to wear just a lot of cleavage and show a whole lot of leg, and so I would just use the word decent. I just think that I don't like to have it all out. So it's just me.
And classy. Yeah, that's what I would call it. Having some class. And
Yeah, I think that's it.
I just think you need to be appropriate. You need to be appropriate whether you're at church, whether you're at work, wherever you are. As long as you're appropriate, I think it's that's the word that I would use. It's just to be appropriate.
For me, it's being comfortable. I base everything I do on whether or not I'm gonna be comfortable. I have some 5-inch shoes in the car, but I went to work this morning, so I have one of these flats. I'm comfortable.
Right. That's good.
my second question is for younger people like my age. I'm 30, and I want to be modest, but yet I also want to be cute. So I don't want to shop in the women's section, just to make sure it's long enough. Because if you go to certain stores, things are too short, things are too tight. If you're getting it in the right size, what would you suggest for women my age of how to shop or where to shop for certain clothes to make sure that you're being modest? And that goes for everybody as well.
As far as where to shop, as cute as you are, I couldn't tell you where to shop, girl. I shop where I could use this size. So I understand, what you would mean by that. Trying to be appropriate in this day and age, everything they sell, it's, everything is out. Very, very short, very tight. But you're young, so you don't want to look old. You want to be cute. You want to, you don't have to wear dresses down to there. I don't think so. I think it's appropriate for you to wear a skirt that's here, or, maybe here. Because you're cute and you're young and you can do that. That's what I think. So, because you can have a dress above your knee and still look good. Now, if it's too tight and then you can't bend over and pick up a pebble off the floor, off the ground, and without seeing everything, then, that's a key right there that might be a little too short. But yeah, I think you need to look good, girl. Yeah.
I was going to say, back in the school day with my girls growing up, at school, they had a rule. If it was fingertip length, then you were good. But if it's anything above the fingertip, then it's too short. So I think, like you said, don't be young and dress like one of the women in their habits, walking around the street, because you want to still be cute, young.
Right.
But I kind of like that rule even to apply today. If it's like way too low, too high, then chances are, like you said, if you bend down and everything's out, then it's too short. But I like the rule of school when they said, okay, fingertip length. They did a test, and if it was too short, then they said, that's not good.
I think they should still do that, because sometimes looking at the kids going to school,
that's true,
in the morning, I'm like, where are you going? Are you going to Disneyland or school?
They do at my daughter's school.
They look terrible.
They have fingertip at my daughter's middle school.
But see, Miss Betty, you can have a lot of people throwing cans at the television because you were like, oh yeah, just a little up here, it's okay. And then you got women wearing it to church. Now, what about those throw cloths? Now, do you think the lady with the cute mini skirt, you think they should pass her just one little handkerchiefs for the knees?
Well, I don't think they should wear mini skirts to church.
Okay. I wanted you to just clarify.
No, I was talking about her because she's young and not a mini skirt, but she shouldn't need to wear a skirt down to here because all that is just to satisfy people.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's not a church rule. That's to satisfy from having people talking about you. But I've come to a place where that's not going to change regardless of what you wear. So,
you have a question?
I do have a question. Would you guys consider tattoos and piercings to be modest in the church?
I used to hate tattoos, and I thought they were terrible. For somehow, I don't know, the older I'm getting, I'm starting to like them. I kind of want one. So I don't know what's happening to me.
I actually feel the same way for years and years. My both my brothers, they are covered in tattoos, and I was like, they're like, oh Lord, here she comes, and here she comes, she's gonna scold me about my tattoos, and I was quoting scriptures and Leviticus 19 and 28, and I was doing all that, and then I had a significant event that happened in my own life, and to always have a reminder of that, I got a tattoo myself. So you can just imagine the flack that I took from my brothers for my own tattoo, but it has a meaning. I think as long as it has a meaning and you're not just trying to just be rebellious and just put everything under the sun all over you for no particular reason and not thinking about the long-term effects of that. Yeah. Who wants to be 72 years old taking your granddaughter to school with whatever all over your body. You have to, those are permanent forever. So you have to just be conscious of what you're getting. And I would just think, I would just say to just make it mean something to you, and mine doesn't show unless I show it, and I don't, readily show it. It's my own personal thing, and I got it from my own personal self. So, I don't have a problem with tattoos or piercings and all that. I just, just excessive, like 28 tattoos is just, to me, not necessary.
I have a problem with tattoos. Actually, I was raised in the church, but I got my tattoos, the majority of my tattoos prior to having my own relationship with Christ. After I did, I tried to cover them up as much as possible. I didn't want anybody to see it because when people, it wasn't ever spoken, but it was implied that when people would look at me, that I didn't really look the part of a Christian. However, now that I have begun to pursue a completely different, a more authentic relationship with Christ. No, in my prayer time, he didn't say, Samil, go get a tattoo. But he also didn't say, you going to hell because you're getting a tattoo. I have these really strong opinions on what people should do, and I try not to offer them unless I'm asked. I don't think a woman should ever have a tattoo on her neck. I don't know why you would want to. I don't think a man should have a tattoo on their neck. I don't know why they would want to do that. But somebody might feel like I shouldn't have a tattoo right here, and that's okay, But it's my own personal opinion. What I do have a problem with is the same person who would talk about my tattoos as calling attention to my body parts or whatever. They might have on a hat that does this. Right. So how much attention are you calling to yourself? Right. It's 6 and 1.5 dozen of the other. So if we really have a conviction about it, then we have to be clear about what our conviction is. Because you can't tell me you're not being modest and you need to tone it down, but you got on an ostrich feather that's 6 feet high. That's not modest, and it's not toned down. So it's just like, and I have been poured into by people that other people would shun or would think they cannot possibly be a Christian, would walk up to me not knowing me from anybody and give me a prophetic word that was spot on about something that I prayed for. So how dare I look at somebody funny because they have piercings and tattoos? They might pray more than me.
That's right. That's true. That's good.
That's true.
That's good.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't know if you was waiting for my answer. I think tattoos and piercings is a personal preference thing. I wouldn't knock anybody for having them, but at the same time, I personally don't like them. And at some point, we can be lenient about a lot of things, but at some point, we have to look different than the world. And that's my own personal opinion. I mean, where do we draw the line at looking different than everybody else? I mean, if I was to stand beside somebody that's saved and I'm unsaved, could they tell that there's a difference in my life if I'm covered with tattoos? Now, there's people that have tattoos before they get saved. You really can't do anything about that. But if I'm saved and I say I love the Lord, and then I'm going to go out and put a bunch of tattoos on my body and pierce my nose and my ears and everywhere else, I just don't agree with it. I just think that there should be a difference in how you look when it comes to living holy and looking holy and being saintly and set apart for Christ.
Okay, so with that being said, where do you draw the line with being different and being separated from the world when it comes to your appearance and how you dress?
Well, I think we'd have to go back to 1 Timothy if we started talking about scripture, because the Bible strictly tells us what's modest and what's not. And that's what we're supposed to live by. I mean, there's a lot of rules out there, but at the end of the day, the Bible is the final rule. And so you start going to scripture, and scripture tells you how you're supposed to live your life and what's modest and what's not.
A lot of times, though, and not about sharing, a lot of people will take 1 Timothy, they'll take Titus, and they'll take a lot of other scriptures out of context. And I'm not talking about her taking it. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, we like to say Jezebel wore a lot of makeup, but that wasn't really what Jezebel's problem was. Jezebel usurped her husband's authority. That's what the problem was. She wanted to be in control. So how many no makeup, long skirt wearing,
That's right.
go to church every Sunday, but don't know how to submit to their husband. I'm sorry, that's not even about modesty, right? Okay. So, and I personally, I think I'm the youngest person on the panel. If I stand next to my daughter, you cannot tell that I'm saved and she's not saved.
That's right.
You can't. I'm sorry. But that's okay. Because if I stand next to my daughter, you can tell that I'm the mother and she's the daughter. And she is never ashamed to stand next to me because I don't look trashy. You know, so it's not what somebody is going to consider different depends on how they're raised. It depends on if they were in church. You know, I've been saved since I was 14. You never wanted to wear a short skirt. So it never was it never was a problem. But we shouldn't be so quick to say these two people don't look different because you have no idea. And that's what runs people from the church. You have no idea if I'm saved or not. But if you say, "Good morning, Samil, how are you?" I'm going to say, "I'm fine." In the midst of everything that's going on, I prayed this morning or whatever. You know, I might not walk around saying, "Praise the Lord, hallelujah." And I got tattoos. I used to have a lot of piercings. I took them out. But this tattoo was not done before I got saved. This tattoo was done in April. And I've been saved. I've been saved about 16 years.
Okay.
Right.
And that's why I say it's a personal preference.
Right.
For me, I don't like tattoos. For you, you like tattoos.
Right.
You know, but I still think that there should be a line drawn. And when we get so open and liberal in the church where everything is acceptable, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because basically everybody living the way they want to live and ain't nobody really going back to the word.
That's true. Now I have a question for the panel, beginning with Samil. Is there a difference with modesty or modesty in different denominations? Because I knew a young lady, of course, come from a Pentecostal background, and we know how we're supposed to look. And they came from another background where they believe bows and hose, which means bows in your hair, and they had to wear pantyhose, and they had to wear the particular type of long dress. There was a certain look, kind of like if you ever seen 19 Kids and Counting, there was a certain look they had to have. So that it was different from what people in the sanctified church would wear or the Pentecostal church.
Right.
Do you see a difference among denominations in what modesty is? Smell?
Most definitely.
Okay. And what do you see?
Definitely. I see it as a part of the culture. There used to be a time where can we say denominations or?
Yes.
Okay, any Church of God in Christ that I went to would have one particular appearance. But when I began to see other churches that were more comfortable with different types of apparel or different types of dress. The first time I visited a church out here, I asked my mom, "Well, what do I have to wear?" She was like, "No, you don't have to wear." So I was like, "Oh, okay," because I had to wear. I'm the pastor's daughter-in-law. So if anybody else didn't have to wear stockings, I had to wear stockings, whether I wanted to or not, because I'm the pastor's daughter-in-law, what my name is, and that's how I had to be. But some other cultures, church cultures, not a nationality, some other cultures are just come to church and worship the Lord. And the service is so different. It's so different. I tell my son not to wear hats in a building,
Right.
because that's what my grandmother taught me. Men don't wear hats in a building. So when we go to churches where they wear hats, baseball hats and stuff in the building, he's like, "Why are you telling me to take my hat off?" And it's not really modesty, but it's a rule that I grew up with, that a man, and you are a young man, does not wear a hat in a building. So it's part of the culture that I pass on and that we all pass on.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Bader, I want to ask you the same question.
I think the different denominations certainly have a different way. I know that there was time that I went into, I didn't know, I was actually raised Catholic. So I'm non-denominational Pentecostal. I guess there's a mixture of that in there. But I dressed whatever way, in Catholic church. We just dressed, We just went to church whatever way. It wasn't any dress code or anything like that. It just was a unspoken rule that you come in looking decent. But when I changed into this denomination, I found out that there are certain rules, like me having no stockings on tonight would be a no-no. You know, and I didn't understand all those rules. You know, having to wear nylons, having to wear your skirt under, you know, your knees and that sort of thing. And I just guess that at some point I came to the conclusion that the Holy Spirit just had to run my life. And that's what, because you are going, you know, they have this saying, what is it, to and from every wind of doctrine. And that's what happens. And so I just pray and ask God to tell me what to do. And when, you know, I have the discernment, I listen to his voice. And I think that's what we should do, because you get so confused, and what's good for one is not good for another, and then I should change to wear this, or I should, and you should do what is pleasing to God. And I think that's what it comes down to. Like Sharon said, it's the Word. We get back into the Word, and that's what has happened. We've gotten out of the Word. You know, a lot of churches are independent, and so the pastors, the leadership are running that church. So it's whatever they were brought up with and whatever they know, you know, and they put their rules, and that's what the church is going by. But it needs to be, what does God say? What is pleasing to him? And I know good and well that it's not pleasing to him for me to wear, you know, to dress a certain way. And I know that as a woman of God, that people are looking at me. And it's not because I care that who's going to talk about me or who's not going to talk about me. It's that I care about what he thinks. And so, and he wants me to pull more people into the kingdom. So if what I have on is going to turn someone off, you know, it's not because what they're going to say or judge me. It's because the main purpose that God has for me and for all of us is that we draw people, you know, so that people will not know him. And he wants people to know him. And if I'm looking and all my cleavage is out and everything, and then I'm saying, you know, how am I going to dictate what you're going to do if I haven't done it? You know, and that's the thing. It says, don't let your good be evil spoken of, you know. And so you can say all day long how much you love the Lord, but if, you know, you see everything here and you can see under my clothes and things like that, that's just not of God. Simple as that.
Wow, that's good. We have another question.
Yes, this question is for Sean. Would you say that modesty is a personal choice? I hear a lot of talking about church requirements and things that are appropriate, but does it come down to it just being personal choice?
I think a lot of times a personal choice is based on what your church's tradition is. And so, like, let's say for instance, I grew up in a Church of God in Christ, but when I got married, my husband was Baptist, so we moved to you know, a Baptist church, and a lot of the traditions there about what you dress and what you have to wear on first Sunday and fifth Sunday, and you know, and it's okay to wear jeans on this Sunday and all those kinds of things were a foreign concept for me. Because, you know, I grew up where we couldn't wear earrings, you didn't wear makeup, you didn't do all this kind of stuff. If you went to the movies, oh my goodness, you know, if God, Jesus came back, then when you were at the movies, you were definitely going to hell. And, you know, so it was more of a culture shock for me, because I was like, oh, they can wear that here, you know, and you know, or they can't wear that. Why can't they wear that? You know, it was differing, you know, those things were, I think it's basically, all in the tradition of the church and how much you value the tradition versus what's biblical. I think as long as, you know, like I've said, you know, consistently, as long as you're comfortable and as long as you're appropriate, you know, it's never appropriate. When someone wears a shirt or a blouse, when they have all their cleavage out, they know before they leave the house. They say, okay, well, you know, if somebody says something to me, I'm gonna say, with the fact that you even said, if somebody says, means that you already know that's not appropriate, and you're just, you know, you're just being rebellious at that point. And I think it's more important to be obedient to what your first mind tells you. And if you tell yourself, well, I'm just not wearing stockings because it's too hot outside, it's 100 degrees, I'm not wearing stockings today, and you know that you belong to a church where that is a tradition, then you're already expecting for there to be a fallout. So, if, you just have to be appropriate to where you are. I'd say in that instance, if you feel like you're going to get that much flack about it, don't go to church that day. You're not going to lose your salvation if you don't go to church every Sunday. It's just not going to happen. And if it does, you're probably not that saved.
Do you have another question?
Yes, one question for Sean, since she's on a roll. I know we have a panel full of women, and Smil talked about it just a little bit, but what would you say as far as raising our daughters and teaching them modesty? I heard a lot about girls and ladies, but what would you say to people who have sons, and do they raise them up to be modest, or is it just kind of a feminine term?
Just, with my own children, I have a daughter and I have a son. My son is 15. He is not necessarily into going to church as much as my daughter was at that age. But I feel like if I want them to continue to go to church, I cannot keep on, harping on what they wear. My daughter, she wore jeans a lot. There was a period of time when, and she's here today. Anyway, there was a period of time where she would dress up and she would wear little heels and, she'd do all that other kind of stuff. And then, she's not comfortable in that all the time. So she, as she grew up, she decided for herself what was comfortable. And as long as she goes, it doesn't matter to me what she wears. It's going to be appropriate because that's the way that we've raised her. The same thing with my son. He's not gonna go to church with his basketball shorts on and his tennis shoes or kind of thing like that. But I think what you instill in them, as far as respect for themselves, respect for their family, respect for the church, respect for God, respect for the people of God. If you instill that in them, then I just think that as they grow older, they'll become more appreciative of it. Even now, my son, he's at the age where, he wants to see what girls are there at church. So yeah, he's gonna put on his little cologne. He's gonna make sure, he's got his shirt ironed and all this other things. And I'm like, what are you doing with an iron? You never cared about that before. But he's become, he's growing up. He's becoming a younger man. So it definitely plays a part in what they consider modest, how you raise them.
No question. I did have a question. I have a question for Samuel. So, in your opinion, what do you think modesty is in 2014? Like, how can you be modest in 2014?
How can you be modest in 2014? Look in the mirror. If it's like Sean said, if you have on something and you already have it rehearsed in your mind, somebody's going to say something, or if somebody says something, then it's not appropriate. If you put on, I don't like to shop. I'm sorry, I hate it. I call people like, can you just tell me what to buy? Or I text people pictures in the, this is too short, and they like, no, it's not, it's fine. But if you are tugging and pulling, then you're probably not comfortable in it. So don't let anybody talk you into wearing it if it's not something that you feel comfortable in. I am very particular about fabrics, colors. You don't want to look washed out. If I put on a shirt that I put on a rhinestone shirt that was a shirt for a book that my friend wrote, and when I put on the shirt, I said, this shirt is too tight. And it was about 3 people in the bathroom, and they said, no, it's not, girl, no, it's not. I said, I'm sorry. Every stone is not supposed to be spread out like this. It's too tight. Just because I have it on doesn't mean that it's not too tight. So that's the type of thing that you have to pay attention to. If it's pulling, if it's wrinkling because it's too tight, if you can see the elastic threads in it, I'm sorry. It's just if it's too tight, it's not appropriate, and you should just. That's why I said be comfortable. And I wear sweatpants and t-shirts all of the time because of my job. But when I dress up, I check in the mirror. I put on the whole shoes, everything, because if it's too tight, it'll raise up a little bit higher. So you just really have to make sure that you're comfortable, and it's with your body type. I have a larger top. I will never wear a belt that goes all the way up here. I'm not, it's just not, that's not for me because I have a larger upper body.
Right.
So you just have to read Vogue or whatever people do that like to shop. But you know, everybody can't wear everything just because it's in your size. I to this day, I don't wear leggings outside. Tomorrow, I might feel like I found a cute long shirt and I can wear some leggings, but to this day, I don't wear leggings outside because I don't feel like it's appropriate for my shape, the way my legs are shaped. But I'm going to boot camp. Check me in about 25 pounds.
That's right. Can we do this show after we all?
Right. How modest are you after you lost 50 pounds?
Post modesty show.
One more question. Question for Sharon. What do you think modesty is? Exactly.
I think that it's a way of dressing that doesn't draw sexual attention. I mean, that's just when we start talking about modesty. I mean, we can all wear our pants, we can wear our long shorts, we can wear shorts, we can wear whatever, but according to your body shape, if you have on something that's not appropriate where it draws attention, sexual attention to yourself, then I don't believe that that's modest.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, hopefully everyone got something out of it. Did you get something out of the show today? Yes. I know I did. Thank you so much. And I just want to thank my wonderful studio audience and all of my guests on today. This was a great show. Make sure you tell someone to tune in to Lady Charmaine Live. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Charmaine Live and follow me or like me right there on Facebook at Lady Charmaine Live. See you next time.